Hi there, Sandra here from the Schwowin's Nest. Welcome to my Holly Jolly Christmas series. My first project for you is using dollar store items. This is an artist's panel that I can get for $3.50 at my local Dollarama store. And what I'm going to do first is just paint the exterior frame with some white chalk paint. This is a Dollar Tree gift box that I still have from last year in my stash, and I decided I'm going to cut out these cute little penguins to fit right inside the frame. I've used a pencil to mark off my measurements, and now I'm just going to cut it out. Now that the frame is dry, I'm going to take some black chalk paint and just give it some distressing to make it look a little bit aged and old. These boxes are shiny and so brand new, I decided to take some fine grit sandpaper and just run it across in the same direction just to make this look old and aged as well. It's just going to put some scratches in it. I'm not going to go rough enough to pull off any of the paper. I just want this to look worn. Since this is cardboard, I'm just going to use 4 little dots of hot glue and pop it in place. I also added a couple sprigs of holly and a jingle bell to the very top of the frame. I think it turned out super cute. This next project is a combination of a Dollarama Christmas tree, which is in the center, and these wood Christmas trees that I cut out from fence boards using my table saw. I'm also using some Dollar Tree blocks. Before I get to painting anything, I want to assemble the trees the way I need them to be. I'm using the blocks at the bottom of the back of each of the trees to give them more stability so they can stand on their own. I'm using a combination of my weld bond glue and some hot glue. Adding the block to the back really makes it easy for the trees to stand by themselves. I'm actually, though, going to be gluing all 3 of the trees together, and I didn't want any wood at the bottom to show, so that's the purpose of the blocks. I'm now just going to mark on each of the side trees where the middle tree needs to go, and then I'll attach those with a combination of hot glue and my weld bond glue again. I'm also using my level to make sure that all of the trees are in the same spot when I glue them together. You can also find me on Pinterest and Instagram. If you're creating some crafts for Christmas, tag me. I'd love to see them. I'm going to start painting them with black. The back of the trees is going to remain black, but I'm going to be doing some different things to the front. And I'm just using my DIY chalk paint, which is in my description box. And this is awesome for raw wood because it just soaks in and dries really quick. On the front of the trees and the sides, I'm going to give them a couple of coats of white chalk paint. The trees are completely dry. I did wait overnight for this, and that's just happened to be what it was with my schedule for that day. And I'm using some coarse grit sandpaper, and I'm just going to go around the edges of the trees. On the corners, I'm going to do it a little bit more so you see more of the black coming through. That's why I painted the black first, because I wanted these trees to be white and black distressed. This is a different technique that I'm using for distressing these trees. I'm using a screwdriver and I'm scratching off as much paint as I want in the same direction. You can also use sandpaper, but I have found that because this chalk paint is so thick, by the time I get down to the black, I've sanded so much around the area that it just looks all scratchy and dull. So I have decided using a screwdriver for this type of distressing really works well. If you've not tried it before, give it a shot. You might like it too. For the tree trunks at the bottom, you'll notice that it's kind of a jagged edge between the black and the white. And now I'm just taking my white brush and distressing it just a little bit with a dry brush. Since this piece is probably going to go up for sale, I'm going to just clean up the back where the white came through, just taking a fine paintbrush and some black paint and just making it nice and neat. Here's a look at how the trees turned out. The last project I have for you today is using this thrifted frame that I got for $4.99. And I'm going to just take some sandpaper and sand smooth the flowers at the top. Whenever you've got some hand painted flowers like this, they always end up having a little bit of a raised edge to them. So I'm just going to sand them down and keep touching them with my fingers to make sure it's nice and smooth. Again, I'm going to be starting with the black first on the whole frame. I'm going to give it just one good coat. That's all I need for this one. And then I'm going to follow it up with 2 coats of white chalk paint. This is a Dollar Tree Christmas shopping bag that I picked up last year. They had a whole bunch of these themes with the woodland and the grays and the blues, just beautiful bags. So I grabbed a whole bunch of them, knowing that at some point I was probably going to make some signs out of them. The frame that I'm using has quite a bit of a gap for the calendar to fit in. So in order to make this bag fit really nicely in there, I'm using some white foam core board and I'm going to glue a strip to the top of the picture and to the bottom of the picture on the back. To cut foam core board, I have this old cutting board that I put underneath, and I go through it really firmly with a utility knife and using a metal ruler as my straight edge. Recently, I was shipped a package of Starbond glues. This is the medium thickness glue, and these are all a line of super glues. I have been using them in my crafts lately, and I want to test them all out and let you know what they're like. So this one is really nice and thick. It gives you some working time. It doesn't dry as quickly as the regular super glue. What I'm doing is then just gluing the foam core board to the very bottom of the sign, and I'll do the same thing on the top. If you're interested in trying out any of the Starbond glues, I'll have a link down in my description box where you can go check them out. Getting the picture into the frame wasn't difficult, but I just had to take my time, slide it down, and push the foam core down just a little wee bit to kind of squish it so it would get in there and have a really nice snug fit. Before I put the picture in, I did take some coarse grit sandpaper and sand it around the edges of the frame. You can see here that it is distressed. It brought out some of the black paint and some of the natural wood from underneath. With the colors of this sign being so pretty and muted, I didn't want to use any bright green foliage, so I decided to grab this lamb's ear boxwood, and I'm going to just trim off a few pieces, hot glue them onto place, and then add some of those little red pip berries that I love so much. Out of all 3 of my DIYs today, I have to say this one's my favorite. I hope you enjoyed the crafts I made today. If you did, I'd love for you to stick around a while. I've got lots more coming up. Hit that subscribe button. Those 2 black arrows will show you exactly where to click. Thanks so much for watching. See you in the next one.